Hello, I'm Joshua Kennedy, and you're watching Annal-yze. I've asked a guest to come on today to go through the annals of their music history and find a song that's special to them and tell us why they love it. My guest today is Deric North. Thanks for coming, Deric.
No problem, man.
It's good to see you. It's been a long
Likewise.
time. I mean, even before COVID, I think the last time I saw you, it's been probably 5 years. I visited Indianapolis for work at one point, and you came over to the hotel, and I got to say hey to you and hang out with you and your son for a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a while. And then we came to Austin. Um, well, me and Abby, my wife,
Oh
came to.
shit, yeah,
Yeah, that was like 3 or 4 years ago.
yeah,
At
yeah.
this point, You
Did you
know,
guys just come over the once?
yeah, we just came over the once.
You're gonna
I
come
mean,
back soon
COVID
then?
happened halfway through, like any plans to
Oh,
show
that's
up.
right.
So
That happened with you. That happened with Ramsey too. That happened with several people. You know, my sister. Everybody was like, "Yeah, I got to come to Austin again," and then the great happening began. So we're all still in it, but we're making it through.
yeah.
Um, so let's talk first about your music history. What did you grow up listening to?
Growing up, I listened to the same stuff that most people who were born in rural Indiana probably listened to. Because before I moved and met you and everybody else when we were growing up, like I lived way out in the sticks for the most part. I basically lived in Huntington County, northern part of the state. So whatever the radio stations had there, about I'd say three-quarters of them were country and talk radio, like re- politico conservative talk radio type stations, and then like there's two rock stations, Q95, which is still kicking, and
Mm-hmm,
then
mm-hmm.
98.9 The Bear, which
Yeah.
had, rock music that wasn't from like before I was born mainly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So and
You can hear
those.
Nirvana and Stone Temple Pilots and like some modern rock and roll stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
when we were growing up.
I listened to a lot. You can get it in. You could get it in Southern Huntington County, which is where most of the time that we lived. You could get 99.3 WCJC, which was country. So I'd say I spent a lot of time listening to country for the most part growing up. Um, I'm sort of that's sort of like my favorite period. Like country that came after I stopped listening to it because I moved on to other things is country I hate.
Yeah.
Everything like before that. And I'm not speaking from a place of like artistic experience or knowledge of the genre, if you will, or like that particular form of music. But, for me, it died with Garth Brooks and then finally with Shania Twain. Like basically most everything after that,
Mhm.
I just
That
had,
was that was literally going to be my point of reference. Was like, was it Garth Brooks? Was that the one that did you in? Because I didn't really grow up with country as much, but I remember that's the first name that I knew, and I've never liked country. It was just like the first stuff I ever really listened to. The first stuff that I was aware of was Garth Brooks, and I was like, oh, I don't care for this at all. But you heard some of the older stuff, and you liked that. Like, throw out an example, because I've dabbled a little bit since then.
George Jones, George Strait.
George Strait.
Pretty,
Okay, yeah, I like some George Strait.
yeah. Um, Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I really hate, like, I really hate to be put on, I don't want to be put on a spot with this one because I don't remember most of the names. I just know that I like a lot of older style country,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
there's like kind of a very little separability between older style like country and rock music. There's sort of kind of on the same like end of the scale for the most part when I'm thinking about the stuff that I do like that is country. You've got like Devil Went Down to Georgia, which
Mm-hmm.
you can find on both country stations and on rock stations.
Right.
That type of era of music, which is where the song I picked kind of comes from, is
Mm-hmm.
sort of there obviously is an offshoot, like a direct lineage from one to the other.
Yeah,
And
country rock. I mean, that was it was the other side of the street that classic rock kind of entertained, where they were into like it was like hard rock on one end, if you want to think of it that way, and then country rock on another end, and various stripes in between. Which is exactly, at least to my ears, where the song you picked today come in from. But before we get to that, so yeah, it was country growing up, and what when did you start singing? Because you do sing, and you were a singer in bands before. When did that start?
I started that like okay, I've been singing my whole life, but I lived very isolated. Where I grew up, it was a 20 to 30 minute drive to anywhere that sold anything. You know,
Yeah.
basically the closest place you could go to get anything where I lived was maybe 20 minutes on a drive to get like soda from like a bait and tackle shop. It was
Right.
called Joe and Peg's because owned by a guy named Joe and a lady named Peg,
Hmm.
um, on the corner of Highway 9 going north to Huntington County, near
Hmm.
Mississinawa, Reservoir, Salamone Reservoir, sorry. Um, and you know, so way out there, like the only places you could either like, uh, what was the original question, man? I got so distracted. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
childhood is nebulous. Like
Oh
one
yeah,
synapse fires, and it's like, oh well, there's this whole other region of the brain that hasn't lit up in 4 years. What's in there? Yeah. So I was wondering, the arguably the reason why I know you is because you were a singer in a band at one point, and
yeah.
then you left that band to go to college or the army because you did both, and I don't remember.
I did both. We can get to that one a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah. So
later.
you graduated high school either way. We'll say that, and then we're no longer in that band, and then I became the bassist for that band because our friend Ramsey left the band around the same time. That's arguably our connection together, and others were made because it's a small town. But so I wondered, that's your musical performance history. I don't. Did you play in the high school band? I don't remember.
Yeah, I can actually play a lot of different instruments. Most of them are woodwinds for the primarily, like all the different types of saxophones I can play. I don't really do it too well, and I haven't done it in a long time. But I could also do clarinet and excuse me, different types of clarinets and stuff. I guess it's really the same instrument in multiple forms. I am not very good on piano, and I can kind of drum. The
Mm-hmm.
singing is the thing that I do the best. I started singing when I was a kid in the country because it's easy to keep yourself occupied. Because you know, I'd go out walking in the middle of nowhere, just go like I pick a cardinal direction and head a couple miles across someone's field. No one would stop me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just singing to yourself or whatever. And it what nobody else noticed it or anything until I was with Ramsey and we were getting dropped off at the either the mall or the movie theater. I think it's the movie theater. And I started singing along to a Creed song. And when I stopped, I looked up and they were all just like, you know, peeking over their shoulders, looking back at me. And then that's basically when I sort of realized that like it was good enough to make people want to listen to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, no, you have a good voice. You're a good singer, man. We never collaborated musically. By the time I was getting into it, you were very busy with other life things, it's like the aforementioned military service as well as going to college. So we didn't get to cross paths in that way, but that's how we got connected. So I'm curious, which Creed song was it? Do you remember?
um,
This is the second time Creed has been mentioned on this show. That's like that's so
I think it
funny
was
to me.
My Sacrifice. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good tune,
Yeah.
man. And I hope the entire internet watches this and thinks we're both just the lamest fucking people.
You know, here's the funny thing. I'm not religious. I wasn't then. I won't ever be. But like, man had pipes,
Yeah,
you know, and like they were skilled artists. Are they the best musicians that have ever existed? No, but I mean, with the same breath that I can enjoy some like background, like top 40 stadium rock or turd
right.
rock, like nostalgia, I can listen to some Creed and at the same time be like, yeah, dude, everybody fucks with that. And
Yeah,
they, you know, it's sort of like people like, oh, well, fucking Nickelback. It's like, you know what? I ain't gonna blame them. They found a formula that like has mansions for them, and I
yeah.
never had to work again. I could find a formula that would make me never work again unless I wanted to.
uh, yeah,
Heartbeat.
in a moment. Yeah, absolutely. And any person who tells you differently is mistaking. I think that everything you do like has this idea of like artistic purity, like, and that money shouldn't or can't be like like that is basically you can't make a profit and still be artistic, which I don't believe is true.
Yeah,
But
fuck
it
you.
is. Yeah, yeah, but it is a sentiment that I understand. But like when it comes down to it, like you gotta eat. You gotta put a roof over your head, and if you can do that with your art, or even even if you don't want to call it art, even if like with your skill as a musician or whatever, fucking go for it. Like more power to you, please do. And
Yeah.
if I know you, let me ride them coattails, baby. Let me ride that shit up. Give me them contacts. Um, yeah, man.
Barrage.
Yeah, I can relate to the singing thing, man. That's kind of how it started with me too. Was like I mean, my earliest memories were like, so my parents were separate, and my dad would pick me up and take me to Kokomo, a few miles away, like 30-minute drive away from my mom's place. And, you know, it was just me and him, and he really loved music, and he loved singing, so we would just sing in the car. Like, it happened every weekend. We got in at least, like, an hour and a half of singing, and, you know, we would drive around town and stuff just singing and singing and singing. So it was a really early part of my life. And you're right, there's something, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Egalitarian, right? There's nothing more egalitarian than singing. It's like almost everybody has the capability to sing. Like it doesn't require like any special tools or even knowledge, or it doesn't require practice to do it. You know, everybody does it just for fun, like even if it's just in the shower or whatever. So, you know, it's really connective, and it's something everybody does and everybody can do. And I encourage everybody to do more of it and be brave about it, because I think some people are mistaken and think that a good voice is something that you're born with, and that's not my experience. My experience is like, when I practice singing a lot, I sound really good, and when I don't, I sound like shit. And so I think that's kind of, you know, take your own time, and if you want to get good at something, I think that you can. I don't think it's something you're born with.
There's a certain register of natural, like a reservoir, I'm sorry, of like natural skill that applies to a certain number of things. You know, like everybody can train how to run, right? You can go from being a couch potato to like having like a pretty good like 2 mile or be fast or whatever. Not very many people are going to be born as Usain Bolt. But outside of those
Right.
examples, that
Mm-hmm.
sub percentage of a sub percentage of the top, you know, pretty much everybody else could with some work like be passable, or even like be able to contribute in part to a multi-group effort, like a multi-person effort for singing. You know, like
Absolutely.
some shit does not sound good unless it's sung by several people in
Mm-hmm.
completely, you know, completely different ranges. Um,
Ranges, and also like how everybody has a unique sound to their voice, like the
that
timbre of your
number of
voice.
theirs,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and that kind of color too, and that's to an extent something you're born with, right? Like there is a physical characteristics to your vocal cords that make them sound a certain way when you sing. But I don't think there's such thing as like a bad voice. Like a lot of artists, like what comes to mind is like Thursday. Like that dude's voice sounds like shit. It sounds terrible, and I love it. And he's a good singer. He just like took his nasty sounding voice, his natural sounding voice, which is just not at all what like a choir director would want you to sound like.
nope.
But he makes it work with his music, and I think that's the trick for people who are vocalists. And it's a trick I'm still trying to figure out. Like I am still figuring out different ways to like use my voice, like the natural colors of my voice, in like effective or creative ways. So I think it's part of the journey for anybody who's singing.
And it's a feature of some music. A lot of punk music's like that, you know. And like you're not going to have like most of your mainstream punk artists be able to sing along to like a pop 40 with like Whitney Houston style song and like
Oh yeah.
sound good. And you're not going to drop her
Mm-hmm.
into some sort of like garage band, fucking grungy. You know, we like all been sleeping in a van and eating like ramen with like prison microwave recipes and like
Yeah.
have it. You know, there's a venue for each individual voice in different styles and stuff. Yeah, I mean,
It's good to hear that too, because I think that it also is encouraging to think like make the thing that sounds good with your voice. You know, like whatever you got, like you can hear your own voice and trust your own taste and like trust your instincts, and like
yeah,
play the kind of guitar music or play the kind of piano song that like works with your voice. And that's something I'm still learning. I'm not good at that yet, but I think it's cool to talk about. I think that's something that like creatives struggle with, is just like finding your own voice and finding ways to implement it.
yeah. Are we still on the subject broadly of like musical history too?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What else?
Fair
So
enough.
woodwinds,
Well,
vocals, when you were in a
yeah,
band. Yeah, what else?
was like another thing is like I picked this song because of personal reasons, but like by far and away, my most like my preferred form of music is rap, hip hop in all forms, followed probably closely by certain versions of rock and electronic music. But it's just weird because there was a genre shift in my life. I still listen to a lot of the same stuff up until the time I was in high school. It just kind of was popular because we grew up in a small Midwestern town where most people listened to country and rock in some format. We probably
Very
had a
very
lot more.
like narrow cultural information that we were receiving. Like we just didn't
Yeah,
have access to a lot of shit before the internet, you know what I mean? And then things opened
yeah.
up for us. But
Like I've been on the internet. I've been using the internet actively since 1993. So I had quite a bit of exposure to like different stuff, but the biggest exposure came to me when my parents divorced when I was 8 years old. And me and my mom did the single mom thing for a while, but she ended up meeting my stepfather and they got married when I was 11. And he was the one that introduced me to hip hop by having Tupac, which is like still to this day my absolute favorite hip hop artist. I got a lot of people who are really close, but there's nobody that really opened the door like that. And it was the first hip hop like record that I bought, if you will, was buying a cassette tape off of somebody out of their trunk. So I had my own version of it. You know,
Yeah.
and now that it's on YouTube and Spotify and everything else that I have, but
Mhm.
uh, it was so far removed from anything in my life. You know, I grew up like super poor,
Mhm.
lived in a trailer most of my life. You know, my I think my mom made like $10,000 a year for five
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
which even like after accounting for inflation is just fucking abysmally poor.
Mhm.
Um, you know, but there were some things I related to in it, and then other things I was just interested in because growing up where I grew up, let's just say that the people were not very cosmopolitan with their idea of who was even considered a person,
Yeah.
being
Yes.
polite about it, you know, and I wasn't like that.
Mhm.
Um, and that was one thing. And then of course there was the punk rock.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that was its own argument when we were in school. Was punk rock, which it was Sum 41, Blink 182, and everything. And you had all the people who liked older punk who were like, that's not punk rock.
Yeah. Mhm.
Tribalism in music seems to be like really hardcore among people who listen to rock music in general.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know,
So I have an idea about that. I think it's basically I've heard it referred to like the curse of the neophyte, which is like people who first start getting into something. Once you like crack the surface of your average level of interest in something, as soon as you crack that surface, people feel really fucking strongly that they've got it figured out because they just opened the door. And so people who like rock music, like from when we were kids, those were the people who were looking just like one layer deeper underneath the most popular stuff. And
yeah,
so those people seem to have really strong opinions about that kind of thing, and that's where the tribalism comes in. And I've done that, like when I was younger, I've done the same shit. We've probably all done it, but it is funny to think about, and it is like, um, it is something that changes, as you continue to listen. Like, and I think this is what people say about like developing an expertise in anything, which is that the more you learn about it, the more you realize you don't know shit. Like there's so much more to know, and you can't know it all. And like that, just that idea of the person who just cracks the surface. Those are the people who seem to feel the most confident and will talk the most shit and like sling mud like wherever they can.
yeah. Uh, and I mean, I agree. I'm not gonna say I wasn't the same because it was. Growing up in that narrow cultural window, before I had heard Tupac and liked it, I was introduced to hip hop originally. The very first time I ever heard it was when my uncle came back from Guantanamo, and he had Vanilla Ice, and they actually had a sit down lesson or like a sit down listen with it. And you want to know the funny thing is that didn't get me into it partially because I disliked it because I was being punished for being too fidgety. Because I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure I got like ADHD or something similar. Um, that's been unmedicated my entire life because unless I'm highly interested and hyper focused, and my attention's like that. It's like I forgot the question halfway through answering it earlier. You know, I can remember so many different things, but I'm not joking, man. I got to have like alarms, post-it notes, my wife, who to like keep me on like track with some things
Oh
because
yeah, I've been your friend for a long time. This is something that I can relate to,
yeah,
and yeah, our friends know. Our friends know what it's like to deal with Deric North. We love you very much, but we know that there is that aspect to it.
yeah,
But
I'm swinging my
so
foot so I don't shake the computer.
so you're saying like you had like you're being forced to like sit down and listen to something, like that was the
Yeah,
environment
yeah,
when
he
you're.
came back. He's like, you got to hear this.
Oh, I hate that. I think we've all experienced that at one time where somebody thinks something's really good and they really want you to like it, and they put that like social pressure on you to like really focus on it, and just that pressure itself makes you not like it. You could hear it again 10 years later in a totally different context to be like, oh, this is great. This is like my favorite thing now. But because that first listen is associated with that like pressure, it sucks. I hate that.
the Vanilla Ice is like endearing to me, nostalgia's sake, because I went to the Ninja Turtles concert at Deer Creek when it was still called Deer Creek, in like '92, and then also because of the memes. You know, the oh, it's not dun 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 dun, it's dun 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 ting dun dun dun. You know,
Yeah,
like
the
that
under
joke.
pressure. Yeah, the under pressure joke. Yeah, absolutely. And that that was actually my first one of my first exposures to hip hop as well. Was just that I didn't even hear the song. I just knew about Vanilla Ice had supposedly stolen the line or the the riff for Under Pressure, and I was just like, fuck that, like fuck that guy. Like as a little kid, like and even now, I still hold this opinion. Like stealing music is awful, and like people do it. People still manage to pull shit out where it's like, okay, you obviously didn't create this. Um, but sampling is something entirely different, and
Mhm.
I haven't had an in-depth conversation about that yet with anybody. But we'll save that for a rap episode next time you're on. I think.
Fair enough, man. I've
Yeah.
had to have lots of in-depth conversations about it with my 7-year-old
Mm-hmm.
because when we're listening to electronic music, it's always he's asking me, "Is this an original? Is this a remix? Is this or is this an original with samples?"
Mm-hmm.
Because I've tried to explain the concepts to him differently because I was irritated at the narrow definitions he was using and like
Mm-hmm.
trying to like expand his vocabulary. So
Yeah.
like this samples.
Yeah. Everybody like, and that's another example of like your average listener probably doesn't even know it's a sample. A lot of times they'll just like think that that's the song. But like the kind of people that I'm mostly having on this show, I think, are people who like dig a little bit deeper because then we find some rich nuggets to talk about. So we know sometimes sometimes we don't, but you're definitely not going to know every sample. But yeah, like remake the difference between remix, remaster, remake, sample, all good questions. And it's really awesome that you're taking the time to like talk to your kid about that. Like
Well, I have to
that's really
teach
cool.
myself some of the shit, because I don't know all of it. I don't have a. I mean, I was in band, as so I got into band because of the song that we chose because of the saxophone part. That's what I played. Tenor sax was my principal instrument. But like other than getting through like middle school and then some of high school, I have no other professional music
Mm-hmm.
training.
Yeah.
So anything that I want to know that he asks me, I don't want to answer it wrong, so I have to research it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to like look up all the different terms and find out. I have listened to so many different things this year; it's insane.
That's good, man. That's like I think that's one of the coolest parts about like I don't have a kid, but I think one of the coolest parts is like there is this new entity that is going to have its own curiosity and its own tastes about culture, and you're gonna have to like engage with that, right? Like you're gonna have to be like, oh, okay, like you like this kind of thing. Okay, well, what does that mean to me? Like, how can I relate as your parent? Like, I think
Yep.
that's really fucking cool. I think that's a great opportunity for you to hear shit that you definitely wouldn't have just like randomly listened to.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of it that's like happy when he picks something I like. Like we um Bulls on Parade was playing by
Oh yeah.
Rage earlier when we were driving, and I was going to Lowe's to return some shit. And he was like, "What is this song?" And I was like, and I was like, "Well, it's Bulls on Parade, Rage Against the Machine." I was like, "It's one of my favorite bands." And he just listened to it, and 30 seconds later, he was like, "I love this song," and I was like, "Yes."
That is so good, man. I'm very happy for you. I'm very happy for Victor too. Yeah, man. I actually just got into Rage recently. Like I knew Bulls on Parade, like I'd heard a couple of their songs, but I just listened to was it their self-titled from '92, and heard the song Freedom, and I was like, holy shit! Like it rips really hard, and kind of really changed the way I thought about them. So yeah, that's a good example of like early rap, right? Like I mean, it is rap. It's not like he is certainly rapping, right? But it's
He
not hip
definitely,
hop music.
yeah, it's not hip hop music, but he definitely was rapping
Mm-hmm.
in some of his lines. I mean, like rap has its purists too. Is this or is this
Yeah,
not rap? I mean, even now you've got like newer guys shitting on other newer guys who are doing mumble rap with SoundCloud rap.
I know.
You know,
It's funny.
I
I don't
don't.
know. Maybe it's a sign of getting old because I'm just like I don't know. This is all pretty good. Like I feel way less like attached to that idea than I used to of like that purist idea. I'm just like I don't know, man. I think mumble rap's good. I think it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
and I think part of it's the identity. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
need to make a new you anymore. When you're in high school,
Yeah.
when you're growing up, you've got, like I moved so many times. I think like by the time I was 5, I'd moved like 72 times or something. It was
Jesus.
fucking crazy, incredible.
Yeah.
My parents would rent a place and then they wouldn't be able to pay the next month's rent or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and they'd fucking bounce or whatever.
Right.
Spend time with different relatives, grandparents or whatever, flopping around. I lived in a car for a bit. I've lived in a hotel, like a cheapo hotel where I slept on the floor. You know, you're struggling always to find your identity with all these competing influences,
Hmm.
and then you finally get in with like high school, and you don't know any better because you're fucking pumped full of goddamn hormones. You're like, I want to fuck everything.
Everything all the
you
time.
know
Yeah.
and it's like, is this person my best friend? No, they're my worst enemy. And all these different competing influences, you're trying to find something to identify who you are. I'm 35 years old. I know exactly what I want. Like, and I'm way less concerned about like most of the same shit that like people are.
Yeah,
um
yeah. There's
you
a
know
certain level. I think maybe like we're experiencing kind of different versions of some of the same stuff, which is like from my perspective, I don't have a kid, I don't have a wife. It's for me, it's just like, yeah, it is the identity part of it is I no longer feel the need to define myself by like by anything really. It's more just
yeah,
like I quit. I am. I don't think that like I don't think this comes from a point of like knowing myself at all. Actually, I think it comes from for me like more of a sense of like letting go of the need to find myself.
mhm.
It's just like, nope, I'm just gonna do shit, and most things are fine. I don't know. It all seems a lot less dire. You just get more comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah. I mean, and when I was in high school as well, like, I don't know, I had undiagnosed depression for most of my life. Um, at multiple suicide attempts, whatever, different time, whatever. But, it wasn't until I was in my late 20s, or like, well, not late, but like early to mid 20s, where that finally like abated itself. So I was always looking for something to like connect to, because I didn't really agree with most of the people that I went to school with for elementary school and everything. Like, I know nobody from that time frame. Like, I know none of them. Like, I have kept up with none of them. I have no idea what any of them have done with their lives,
Mm-hmm.
etc. All of the people who might even watch this that know me, unless like your channel blows up and it randomly finds someone that I went to
Yeah.
elementary or fucking middle school with or whatever, um, will have their own memory of me. It's like, oh yeah, he was a kid I was in elementary school with, or oh yeah, that was the kid that got fucking kicked out in the seventh grade and had to leave. Like, they all know me from when I was in eighth grade. Everybody else before then is just out of my life. So,
Disappeared. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So, you mentioned the depression thing and the suicide
Mhm.
attempts. I wondered, like, is there some? We're gonna get to the song that you picked today, but I think this question is interesting. Like, what's your favorite like depression music? Like shit that either like helps you to be sad or like to feel comfort when you're sad or that kind of thing. Is there like like albums or artists that you like go back to get that melancholy kind of feel?
There's a different answer to that question in different parts of my life.
Yeah.
Pre-child, it probably would be thing like songs that are sort of wistful or thankful for friends, and it's more of like an appreciative cry.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, after having a kid, it's really anything. I don't really know. I really don't know how to describe it, but the emotional, I guess, because I don't have to curate it for people anymore. It's like not part of a performative display. There's no need to restrict my emotionality for like ideas of masculinity or not. I don't really need to do much to be considered masculine. I'm over 6 foot tall. I weigh 300 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and like people are freaked out by me if I frown. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like I can affect all of the stuff without any of the bullshit trappings that are on top of it. But like now, like stuff with kids messes me up.
Yeah.
Thinking about being poor, songs about poverty like really hit.
Mm-hmm.
Songs thinking about depression in general. My favorite song. If you want my favorite fucking like depression song,
Mm-hmm.
it is "I'm Sorry" by Joyner Lucas off of his cell phone album 508 whatever it is. I can't remember because he had his phone number. um, and that song, it like sort of takes the place of like a guy committing suicide, and then his friend like arguing with his coffin at his
Mm-hmm.
funeral, and it is fucking,
Oh man,
it's brutal. I like, if
that
there's
sounds
anything at the end,
awesome.
it's great. Like, he does the normal rapper stuff. He has songs where he's gonna flex and songs where
Of
he's gonna
course.
say the best and stuff like that. But that whole album, Rosca Piccioni, I'm Sorry, Keep It 100, you watch those three tonight, it's a half an hour of your life. They're great.
Wow, that sounds awesome, man. Yeah, I've never heard of that. It's like newer hip hop.
Yeah.
Right
He
on.
does he has more of an older style flow. Like he's a guy
Yeah.
who's probably roughly our age that grew up in I think Baltimore, Boston, and listened to a lot of the same stuff that I did growing
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
you likely might have heard. And his first album was more of a concept album, if you will. And so all the video, like I mean, the song "Keep It 100" is just literally a camera attached to $100 bill while it's going through the stages of like
Hmm.
an inner city economy, from
Hmm.
prostitute to robber to homeless guy playing dice, and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, it's good stuff, and the beats
Yeah,
are
that's
good.
cool. I like that, man. That sounds really cool. And yeah, you mentioned the poverty thing. Yeah, that sort of shit hits me good, and that's why I like a lot of hip hop is because like just a lot of hip hop artists get into that because it's a way to express their pain, right? And a very common pain for modern Black Americans is fucking poverty. So like
Yeah,
it comes out a lot, and like to an extent that I can relate to the poverty aspect. Like yeah, it's rough. And that's why like some J. Cole stuff, like that's some of my favorite stuff, is because he's very very real about his lyrics and just the shit that he had to go through, which is different than the shit that I had to go through. But some of it, definitely my neighbors experienced that. You know what I mean? Even if I didn't. So just being close to it, and that's some stuff that gets me to cry very easily. Um, and yeah, I guess to kind of answer my own question, like when I'm sad, um, huh? I don't have an. I actually don't have an answer. I should. I'll think about that. Maybe someone else that I'll have on this will be depressed, and maybe I'll have a good one for them then.
sometimes there's like a fuck you cry when you're sad, but you just want to like break shit.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments that it's like the volume knob goes up to like 30 in the car, and it's the song "Fuck Everything" by Suicide Silence.
Right
You know,
on. Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
is. I mean, it's just dirty, loud, grunt. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's
No,
just
it's
pretty.
thrashy. Yeah, I've listened to Suicide Silence. It's
There
thrashy.
you go.
Yeah.
That's exact. And sometimes I just feel like that's how it is. Pick a
Yeah.
road where there's not going to be police ready to stop. Fucking. Ugh.
Yeah, actually, one does come to mind. You gave the example of like tapping into the sort of aggressive side. You know what I mean? To do that, I go the other way sometimes when I'm sad and try to do more of a mellow contemplative, and it's always Brian Eno music for airports because that is just like the softest thing that exists. It's like the softest music ever made, and I can just like in the space between these very sparse notes. It's very sparse, and in the space between there, I feel like I can breathe in a little deeper and like feel whatever kind of sorrow I'm feeling in that moment, and just kind of let that have its own space because the music is not filling anything. It's
Yeah.
creating
The
the space.
music for the sound between the raindrops, if you will.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. That's what it is, and that's what that does for me sometimes. So all right, that's great, man. We got a lot of good shit right there about your past and your connection to music and why you love it. So go ahead, man. What song did you pick today, and tell us why it's so special to you?
I picked "Turn the Page" by Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. That's an essential element. You can't see it on the sidebar because it's like a lot of words, but Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. And the song that everybody's familiar with is the one from Live Bullet, which is their live album. They actually published it a few years before. They wrote it when they were on recording with God, what was it? Tea Garden. Um, God damn it, what was it? Tea Garden and Van Winkle, which is like a indie folk duo or whatever. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. And that song was picked by me because my dad and my mom, they divorced when I was 8 years old. They'd been on the rocks pretty much for like 5 to 8. So most of my formative memories of early childhood involved them arguing with each other, and my mom weaponizing the divorce process against my father. I'm not saying my father didn't deserve it, so I know I'm coming I know I'm coming at it from the perspective of a child who lived with his mother and heard her
Mhm.
stories.
Yeah.
And my father has never ever trashed my mom or said anything bad about her. He's always made it a personal point of honor, despite like talking about him would be a whole other thing, but despite how he is in reality, most of the time he's never talked bad about my mom and never wanted to. I just guess he always thought he was, above that, and good for him. But like I got like a one-sided picture of it, but it seemed like it was kind of like weaponized. So we would have these moments uh, where I would find time for him, and I would pretend to do things extracurricular. Like I joined Cub Scouts. I never went to a single fucking meeting at all. ever. Like just my dad and I would go out and whatever, listen to music. And so we'd drive around and he was like, this is, one of my favorite songs. Most of the people in my family are somewhat musical in some sense. Almost all of my grandparents, who or grandparents or their brothers. My grandfather had 10 brothers and a sister. So there's a very large group of people. And like they could all sing. They all sung most of the time when I was growing up. My uncles could play guitar and harmonica. So in the very few times where there was like a nuclear family that actually still all got together for Christmas and shit, I would, go there and they'd have people playing harmonica and guitar and they were singing in front of the fire. And so my dad essentially had that same type of love of music, but he has no musical bones in his body, plain and simple. And he's like, this is one of my favorite songs. It reminds me of our family. It's like one of my favorite songs from the style of music that I listened to growing up. Because when that came out, my dad was a teenager when the song hit and got on the radio play and started charting. Because the first version from back in '72 did not chart at all, but the Live Bullet version did. That's the one that they play on the radio stations. So he was 16 driving a car, and my dad hung out with a bunch of other gearheads and greasers, just like my grandfather had done before. Rolled up sleeves and cigarette pack in the shoulder, in their old cars. My I don't know if you know this or not, but my grandfather was a race car driver, like a professional driver. He qualified for NASCAR, and he's
Oh, that's badass.
raced around on like Bearfield and shit. Yeah, and had all kinds of cool old cars and a whole forest full of like classics like Packards and Auburns and all kinds of other shit. And he had a fucking Superbird, like all original, single owner, low mileage. He ended up auctioning off for some insanely godly amount of money after he had like retired.
That's a very traditional like Indiana story. Like that, so many of like you go to like every 10th friend. They're like, yeah, my uncle or my grandfather is like a race car driver. Like that,
Yeah.
everybody does that, and everybody listens to Bob Seger, and everybody still like wears greaser shit. Like there is still like a greaser population in Indiana today. Like traditional style tattoos, slick back hair, roll up the cigarette in the sleeves, like
Rockabilly music.
rockabilly. Yeah,
I listen
Robert
to a lot of
Sigurd, Sean Beck.
rockabilly. It's not really my favorite thing, but my wife loves it, and a lot of her friends are of that same clique.
Yeah.
The same, thick lined old style tattoos, like old sailor style, and not like sailor, like, oh, I got an anchor, but like actual, like the
Traditional style.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pin up and stuff like
yeah.
that. And so we'd go driving. We'd have this music on. It reminded him of his father, and like he wanted to share it with me. And then so that kind of became like a stand-in, if you will, for my relationship with my father. And it inspired me to get into music because it could be something else that I could do that he would like.
Yeah.
Because I was still craving like parental validation. And my mom, um, my relationship with my mother is very touchy and complicated subject, but growing up my mother tried very hard, and unfortunately that meant she had to work a lot. And she worked 2 or 3 jobs like all the time, growing up, and so I would be alone a lot, making food for my brother who was 3 years younger than me, cleaning the house and shit, which I didn't do a good job at, and I still didn't really learn how to do until I got married. You've been to the places I've lived,
Yeah, I contribute to that mess, and yeah, man, it's you're telling a story that I think a lot of people will connect with. It's certainly something that I connect with, and I know that there's like poor rural people, or not even just rural people. It's the same problem of like, so many people of our age are children of divorce. We are children of parents who had to work multiple jobs because the economy's been in the shitter for like a long time now. And yeah, so this is something we can all relate to. And I have kind of came to this thought independently, but one of the reasons why I got into music was certainly because it was something that I connect with my father with. Absolutely. Because he was really into it too. So yeah. And this song is also, it's a fatherly sounding song. Like to me, it has the quality of, a man sitting his son down and talking about like his time. Like that is what it feels like. It's about exhaustion. It's about working yourself really hard. It's about being away from home. It's also about driving, which Indiana people love driving.
I wrote a fucking novel about driving.
Yeah, you
I
did.
mean, like it's
Yeah.
seriously, it's called fucking, and not, I mean, I don't care about the title. The point is that like half of the big conversations happen in car
No.
rides.
So, okay, someone's gonna need to know what that novel's called so they can go buy it. Someone's
A
gonna watch
series
this
of
and be,
car rides, but it's not being sold anywhere.
oh,
I wrote it
we
when I
can
wrote it.
fix that.
Yeah, we can fix that another time. I need to
Okay.
go through and edit some. I need to go through it and edit some shit. Needless to say, but yeah, car rides, and the song also talks as well about like craving and feeling like a sense of worth from validation from people whose only interest to you is what you can provide. And there's a whole lot of that. There's a whole lot of that in life, and I don't know why it resonated in early age or whatever, but after I stopped drinking, like ritually, I was somewhat semi-ironically drinking like a Seagram's Escape, and I got a couple shots of Glenlivet to get to in a little bit, but that's like the drunkest I'll have been, like, and it won't even affect me because I'm like large. That's like the closest drunkest I've been ever since I stopped drinking, like 8 years ago, or like 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't even been drunk in like almost a decade.
I
you
remember
know
having like one beer with you like 5 years ago. That was like about
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, and which just weirds people out. But that's the thing, is part of like growing up is, I guess, realizing that so many of the people that you call friends are actually just acquaintances because of convenient circumstances. you know it's like, oh yeah, it's my friend. It's like, no, you just share weed with him. Or like, oh yeah, this is my friend. It's like, no, he just lives in the same apartment complex and you drink. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing deeper than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think there's probably another parallel to poverty there, where it's like you have to find a way to make these things happen, and like I think it's another thing about just being a person from like a rural area too, is there's not shit else to do but like get into trouble. Like, what are
Yeah.
you gonna do but like drink or smoke pot? Like, which is again, like, it's all reinforcing that same culture of being into music, because that's what rock stars do, right?
Yeah.
So some people who are going to be involved in music are going to get into drinking and drugs and sex, and then some people come at it from the other direction too. They're just like, no, I just like partying, and I found out I can sing. Like,
Yeah.
that's a fair number of people that like I grew up with, that we both grew up with.
Yep. And the song also has a whole element of like being othered by groups of people.
Yeah.
I remember getting picked on relentlessly when in elementary school, when I was on the school bus, because I was friends with the only actual black kid that I ever went to school with. Like, I mean, like both parents were black. And boy, I am not going to repeat the things that were said to me, but
Yeah.
I got it from adults. I got it from fucking kids that were older than me. I got it from kids the same age. And it's sort of inculcated. There's a lot of questionable things that if they would manage to have made it onto Twitter that I believed growing up, that would surely be canceled as of this day. And like a lot of that shit didn't go away until
Yeah.
after I went to college, after I joined the army, and after I moved to like a city, Indianapolis here, where the half the population for the state lives here. It's an entirely different experience, because I didn't have any of that growing up. I just had the words of other people,
Yeah.
really. And I got made fun of a lot relentlessly for it, and that and other things too, because I rock. Like, I'm trying to do a good job at it now, but a lot of times if I'm sitting still, I'll do that. I do shit with my
Yeah.
fingers, over
Restless
and over.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a chemical scream that happens inside my brain at all times that makes my body want to move or to make music. Like, almost everything is sound to me. I don't know, I've seen people, maybe it's synesthesia or whatever, but like everything that touches me has a different sound.
Yeah.
Like, if it's gritty, it has a different sound. If it's light, if it's hot, cold. So everything that touches my body makes music. Like, my outfits have a different song to them,
Wow.
like
Wow.
constantly.
That's awesome, man. I need to get you. I need to get you in the studio. Give you a bunch of mushrooms and bring like a box of various materials, and have you just go to town with a microphone and like a box of materials, and you can sing what they sound like.
It would probably sound like a YouTube compilation of someone doing like blurst fried effects to whale noises.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it's gonna sell like hotcakes, man.
my
That's
my
our $1 million idea. That's what we're gonna sell.
Abby, she will ask me like, what does this sound like or whatever. I would say most times shit sounds like shit sounds like wind chimes or that type of sound. But some things are actually so aggressive to me that they make me sick to my stomach. Like one of the worst things in the world is like a clay pot with that like bottom, the water catch plate. And if you like, ugh, fuck, sorry, goosebumps.
Yeah, and that's the I don't know if it's synesthesia, but that's the thing that a lot of people can relate to is nails on chalkboard, right? Like everybody, shit, I just did it to myself.
See, the sound doesn't bother me. It's the feel. Another one that I hate, which growing up poor, I had way too much of a familiar feeling with, is the crystallized sugar on a wooden spoon in the fucking when you're giving it like that second day spin to remix it because it's settled overnight and it just shudders through the wood. It's like, oh no, that's why I got bamboo.
Holy
with like
shit, man.
smooth surface.
You're giving me some really interesting ideas about music and sound right now that I hadn't even considered. I have, actually, I did have an idea recently. I wrote this song. It was called Paper Train, is what I called it. And I wanted to. I'm giving away all my good ideas here. I wanted to see if I could record this. I haven't done it yet, but like get a couple pieces of paper and rub them together and try to emulate the sound of a train starting up. Like chugga. Yeah, get the chugga going and see if I can do that with two pieces of paper and it would sound like a paper train. And yeah, so I should probably still do that. But it's interesting that you have that. I don't think Bob Seger probably dealt with anything that experimental. But that doesn't mean we can't. That's our $1 million idea. That's what we're going to be the next Nickelback because we're going to release the album Songs of Synesthesia. And it's going to blow people's fucking minds.
I need to get myself like a Tom York quirk. Like an eye pinch or something.
You're plenty quirky enough, buddy.
Oh,
you got it covered.
You got me. More on the song as well. Connecting fathers, by the way. My mom got married when I was 11 to my stepfather. And one time we were driving back. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think he was picking me up from band practice, actually. And well, on the way back, the song came on, and we both just started singing it.
Yeah.
Both sung the whole song. We didn't say a fucking word about it. And it was shortly after that I told him that I loved him for the first time and called him dad.
Wow.
I wouldn't say that my relationship with all of them are close, but I don't have any beef with him. He did what he raised somebody else's kids, basically, and he did an all right job. Personal problems between my mother and him and all the other personal stuff, that's a whole separate thing. They're still married. I still love him to death. But that was kind of like a bonding thing as well. It's like I was able to connect like both sides of the fathers, and it sort of made me feel like instead of like having one person compete, because my dad also never competed with him. Like they both worked together like that. Like immediately was that like I was being loved by two people, not sharing half my love with two people.
Yeah.
Then my dad ended up getting remarried again too, so I've got 4 separate families. A lot of parents, a lot of grandparents, a lot of cousins. You probably have never met any of them or whatever, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, technically 6 siblings. So
no, I know Chase and Brian.
Yeah, you do.
I grew up with Chase and Brian.
I know you did.
Yeah, I ran around with them before I ran around with you.
That's fair.
We were just doing hood rat shit in Jonesboro, man. I was like 10 years old, just fucking. Yeah, it was good. It was good dumb shit. Yeah, I think that's a really good story, man. And I think you kind of couldn't pick a better song for that kind of feeling because it okay, so I wanted to say that the saxophone part in this song is immediately recognizable. And awesome. It's really, really good. And I don't like this song, nor do I like Bob Seger. But I will say I give it a ton of credit for even though I don't like it, I recognize that this song is very, very powerful. It's clearly sang by someone who feels deeply about what they're singing. And it's in a sincere and open-hearted way but it's not he's not like complaining, so much music that I like. This isn't like I'm not bashing this thing, but a lot of music that is about sad things is whiny. I whine in my music. I'm not negging that, but this isn't whiny. He's just like, and maybe you could even say, I don't know, it doesn't feel like that kind of false macho thing either. It feels like he's actually upset. Like he actually is upset, and he's just having to like drag his ass through another day because his life is difficult, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it feels very genuine. And I think that that's a really great example. Like it's such a good example of a way for a young poor boy to connect to his dad. Who's in those shoes as someone who's just like working their ass off to like try to fucking make ends meet and like to try to provide for their kid. Like what I can't think of a better song for that.
It's good, and that lick, Alto Reed, this guy's name
Yeah,
that plays. He just kicks in with that tenor, dude, and just and it's ooh,
it's gorgeous.
free,
It's absolutely
free phone
gorgeous.
hit.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like I know you don't like them. They're in the genre of like rock, country, like older music that I actually do like and still listen to. So
Yeah,
like pretty much everything from that album I like in
yeah.
some capacity, and I know all the words to it. When the song's playing, mind you, you know, I'm bad at remembering lyrics outside of that context, but
Yeah, without the melodies, right? It doesn't trigger the same part of your brain. Like it's a very different experience. I have a hard time
Victor
doing it
has
too.
yet to listen to that song,
Hmm.
um, which is fair.
Well,
But like we,
how do you think he'll relate to it? Like, I mean, you don't know until you know, but like, the situation that you're in, and like, it's not one to one. Like, he is not in the same situation with you as you were in with your dad. So like, I'm wondering, because it meant something different to you. So it's certainly not going to mean the same thing to Victor because
yeah,
it's in a
no,
very different context.
I'm waiting for him to I'm waiting for him to like want to get heavy into music. I mean, we got the keyboard. He loves that thing.
Hmm.
He's got so many musical instruments. That child is legitimately like like not I wouldn't say project, an avatar of music. He does
Yeah.
not stop making music, and I feel that because like my wife often jokes and says that I'm a musician
Hmm.
because I can technically play a music. I don't like to call myself that because I don't actively make music,
Hmm.
and I don't earn a living off of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I can play like I don't know 14 different instruments,
Hmm.
and I do like sing literally all the time. And I like to crimp. Crimping is my favorite thing. Just rewrite the lyrics. Like I'll sit
Yeah.
there and do an entire album of music just off of the dome
Yeah.
about shit while I'm like washing my dishes
I
or
mean,
like
we know, man. People who know, you're kind of brilliant. Like in a strange way, you have this strange brilliance, and I do agree that it is musical. Like you have a great sense of rhythm. You sing very very well. I don't know. It doesn't have to be to you what it is to me. Like your experience with music and the way you connect with it is going to be different than the way I do it. And part of it I think is you can think of it like in the material world, the material realities of our world are very, very different. But also, like, I don't know, man. You have a strange, to me, connection to it that I've always known. We've always talked about music. We've always connected with music, and yeah, you do have this like spontaneous creativity that's really fucking cool. So I think what we'd have to do is I'll get you in studio for a comedy album.
okay,
Is what we'll do.
you do a comedy album or rapping. See,
Yeah, both, right? Like both. Yeah.
here's the thing. I can write paragraphs, stories, and books. I have read legitimately thousands of books. I probably read 4 to 5 hours every single day, in some capacity. I haven't physically read as many books in person, like pages, even though I've got after the flood destroyed almost our entire library, but we still probably have like 700 or 800 books in the
Damn.
house, probably. Not including Victor's books, which are roughly the same number, I'd imagine at this point. So there's a lot of reading, and relating it to the original question, how do I don't know if it's going to relate to him the same way. I
Yeah.
brought him up because I'm waiting for him, like me, to have that musical thing, and then I don't know. We'll see if it takes it or if he's just like, you
Yeah.
know, some of that stuff he just jives with, and some of the stuff he doesn't. I know he always sings with us, so we have an entire Spotify album of like sing along shit, not just stuff from, not just stuff by the way from like Disney movies. He also one of my favorite songs in the world is Baba Yetu, which is actually ironically enough the Lord's Prayer in Swahili.
Oh no
Yeah,
shit.
it was used as so a guy named a composer named Christopher Tin hooked up with the Soweto Gospel Choir and made a version of the song for fucking Civilization 4, like the strategy game. And that song I'm not joking, dude. Baba yetu yetu lie. And he can sing the whole thing in fucking Swahili.
Oh, that's
He
awesome, man.
he also likes this slow guitar song that we all like in the house called Omoide, which means memories in Japanese, which is on the soundtrack to a television series called Midnight Diner,
Hmm.
which is a Japanese serial about the lives of these people who go to a late night
Hmm.
izakaya in Shinjuku
Hmm.
in Tokyo. And so he like knows like all the words in Japanese and can sing along. Like he's such like a broad
Yeah.
range. Like my wife and I couldn't possibly be further apart in many cases. Like, we
Hmm.
have like a narrow intersection of rock music and like hip hop music that was popular when we were young, but then after that, it's like broadly different. Like she really likes Tool. I love Tool as well. Likes the Beatles. Victor likes all of those things. He likes everything that we like and then some.
Hmm.
He has a massive love um, for like piano music. You know, like you drop some Beethoven or some Mozart in there, he just
Ooh.
rolls with it.
Yeah, man, that's one of the things. Like I've been fortunate enough to hang out with your son a number of times, especially when he was very, very, very young. But I'm looking forward to hanging out with him now that he's like starting to form his own ideas and like become like more of what we recognize as like as a human being instead of just like a pile of hilarious work.
Yeah,
Like that's kind of what kids are for a long time, right? It's like I
yeah,
would be very careful with this, and I love it a lot, but it's not like giving me the same feedback as like older humans, right?
yeah,
So yeah, I can't wait to hang out with him again, man, because that's something that you know me, like I do this show because I like connecting with people about music, like,
yeah.
and the opportunity to do that with I haven't had the opportunity to do that with a kid, and shit, I think since I was a kid, you know,
He will make you play everything you have, and he'll
yeah,
want to listen to songs with you.
yeah,
He
it's
is
gonna happen.
majorly into trap music. Like
Yeah,
that's his probably his favorite style of music is trap music.
hell
He
yeah.
loves it when that roll in TR-808 like hollow like bass
Hmm.
hit like open sound hits with the fucking drums kicking in, and then that when it starts getting quiet, but like it's coming, the drop's coming, you know, make the beat drop, and it like booms or whatever.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's fun, man. That's fun. And yeah, I think you're supposed to use sound protection on young people, but concerts are going to be coming back soon. He'll probably be able to go to his first concert. Like, or has he been to a concert yet?
I don't know. He gets overstimulated really easily, so we have to be
Yeah,
careful
yeah.
about the loudness of things. He's
Hmm.
a lot better than he was when he was younger,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
maybe he
Well,
does listen to loud music. So
that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of different contexts that you can see music in, and you know, like, fuck. I don't know. This might be a hard sell because it's a hard sell for a lot of people. But like going to an orchestra is a fucking experience.
oh, dude,
Like, and it is seating, right, and it's dark, and I think that at least in terms of stimulation is a little easier. But man, yeah, something like that, or like, just like maybe it's just some guy with an acoustic guitar at a coffee shop, something chill. I don't know. I'm
or an
just really
open
excited
air,
about, yeah, open air,
at White
yeah,
River down there.
outdoor, absolutely, yeah, something like that. Like, and let me know because I got a lot of free time right now. I'm probably gonna be coming into Indiana later this summer, so
There you go.
maybe we could go to a concert with Big Top. That'd be
Maybe.
great.
I know. I mean, we're planning on traveling. Everybody's vaccinated. Obviously, there's no vaccination for kids his age or whatever. He did get
Mm,
tested recently and is negative for the antibody, which is nice. We
mm-hmm.
all got we all got sick. We all got the vaccine, and then like right after we'd finished like the 2 week post second shot period, everybody came down with like respiratory symptoms that were
Uh huh.
almost exactly the
Mm,
same. And so after everybody got tested or whatever, like we're all fine. It's just we hadn't been out in public because we did the long form quarantine. Like a lot of people, like yes, I'm quarantining, but they still went out to eat every
mm-hmm,
couple of
mm-hmm.
months. We went out to the zoo for my wife's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and it was because they gatekeeper the number of people, and it was all outside.
Right.
So we were very careful, and that was the only thing that we did that wasn't essential to survival:
Holy
gas
shit.
stations, grocery stores,
That's so
and it
wild.
was 424 days before we had gone out to do anything else
Oh
in like
my
the public.
god.
424 days, and we
Yeah.
broke that by going to eat at a fucking ramen restaurant.
Oh,
So
awesome. Well, that's a good
yeah,
thing,
there's
man.
actually it's called Kizuki Izakaya. It's an actual Japanese chain that's in like
Oh, really? That's
oh god,
cool.
it was so good. I taught myself how to make all their food. So now it's a staple. You know, hey,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
quarantine, I'm home all the time, so I teach
yeah.
myself how to make onigiri and make
Hmm.
like all kinds of different ramen and stuff. But
That's awesome, man.
yeah,
All right,
nice.
this is a long talk, and I've loved it. And I want to. I'm really excited to talk about what I want to recommend today too, because I think we can talk about that a little bit. Before I move on to that, is there anything you want to plug? You're a visual artist. You've been making art for a long time, but you said you're not in the middle of anything right now.
Yeah, I'm not in the middle of making anything. I mean, my online handle is cracked tooth grin, CRACKD, no E, tooth, like a single tooth in your mouth, and grin like a smile. And I've had that handle online since like '94 when I
Yeah.
used to when I used to play like Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, but like fucking Warcraft.
Yeah.
And did like LAN and direct dial connections, TCP
Mm-hmm.
over IP and shit.
P2P. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The old style, like plug, like put the AOL disk in the machine and like look for a server and fucking play games. And so that name you can find a lot of my shit on. I was the principal DLC artist for Paradox Interactive Studios, which is like probably one of the world's most successful strategy game companies. I did all of the portrait DLC for the game Crusader Kings 2, and then I was also contracted to do the historical work on Crusader Kings 3, which is like a majorly, I mean, like multiple millions. It's weird. I made a joke before we started about selling my soul to the corporate devil or whatever, and like I have artwork in legitimately millions of people's houses,
I never thought about that, but
which
yeah.
was made on a fucking
Yeah.
laptop with
Yeah.
in the first couple of sets I didn't even have a drawing tablet. It was a fucking mouse,
Right.
like 3D Pro. I think it took me 600 hours to make the first one that I ever did,
Jesus.
which is like the dollar for that I got for the amount of time investment. But then, I expanded my 3D tool set and shit. And I'm making a bunch of other stuff, like, but nothing's solid. I'm writing a fantasy novel.
I was gonna
With
ask, when's the next novel coming out?
I haven't even actually started it yet. I'm still in the planning stages
Yeah.
because in order, I'm sort of a design, I'm sort of like story follows design process. So in order for me to accurately create like the political climate and the history and everything, I actually have created a model, taught myself how to use a different branch of GIS programming software to create a model and then replicate 2 billion years of tectonic activity on that. I'm 100% serious. I mean, I've got like a
I
globe
know. I
with
really hope that someone that we don't know randomly clicks on this fucking video and is like, "Who is this guy with all these super crazy talents? Like, you're a fascinating man." And like, I know this. I'm used to this. We talk. We've been friends for a
yeah,
long time. But like,
yeah,
I'm tickled at the idea that some person that
some
doesn't know you
stranger.
will have the opportunity to see this because it goes online. Shit, who knows? So,
I mean,
um,
I originally went to college for linguistics and biotechnology and linguistics. So I've always had an interest in languages ever since like I fucking first read Lord of the Rings and saw the movies.
mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have a lot of cultural exposure growing up, like because we didn't have any money to have like much of anything, and the internet was always like discs that we didn't because you didn't pay for internet service, you used the phone line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't have a lot of exposure, so I didn't have any fantasy at all. I didn't even finish watching like all the original Star Wars films until I met Ramsey. Even though I was a
Oh
big fan,
wow, yeah.
I had never seen or even heard of Lord of the Rings until like the movies were getting ready to come out.
Holy
And I
shit!
borrowed
Wow,
Ramsey's mom's books and read them.
wow.
So like, uh, I mean, hell, the only reason why I ever even got into playing D&D and had like like my main crew of like friends and shit was just because the guy that was DMing for them, I thought he was like a pederast, and so I convinced my mother that I wasn't actually going to learn black magic by
Mm-hmm.
playing Dungeons and Dragons so I could play with them and they wouldn't be around this guy
Yeah,
because he just creeped me out.
yeah.
Anyway,
I had to have the same talk with my mom that D&D isn't. It's actually a game, mom.
yeah,
Like,
magic isn't real, mom.
yeah, it would. Yeah, no shit. It would be like somebody's looking at a chessboard and being like, "Are you trying to overthrow the monarchy?" It's like, no, this is a game. It's
Yeah,
silly. It's silly, but it's fucking growing up in the '90s in like rural Indiana. Like people had a lot of ideas that like we've had to excavate from our brain, and am still scraping the sides of.
yeah. So I've got like 11 languages, like roughly talkable, that I can use for various circumstances. Because I'm a conlanger. Like David Peterson, the guy who did the language creation for Thor. Dark World for Game of Thrones, a couple of Defiance, a couple of other things on sci-fi as well. Like he's probably like the gold standard. He has a book called The Art of Language Invention. If I was going to plug somebody else's work, it'd be that. Amazing. He also has a invent a language from scratch in an hour. TED like Google, which is
Awesome.
bucket. Like I would just watch it
It's got
because
to be
it's
fascinating. Yeah, I'll check that
yeah.
out.
So I'm like when I design worlds, like for like these stories, because like eventually they'll be coming out. Like I got this tectonics thing because I'm like literally I'm like
Wait.
recreate.
Have you
Go ahead.
read Have you read Broken Earth?
No.
Okay, that's Ian K. Jemisin and her sci-fi fantasy series, Broken Earth, which is really fucking good.
Broken Earth.
Uh, Deals like let's just say like tectonics are like critical to the world there. Like it is a large piece of the plot and has a lot to do with the way the events unfold. And I forgot to mention that last time we talked about this tectonics thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, she has some stuff in there that makes that very important.
Because I hate when I look at a fantasy. I can suspend disbelief for video games and shit like, but sometimes when I look at fantasy, they've got like, desert right next to this and that, and like the world isn't the same. And if like the terrain isn't the same, the conditions that allow certain type of societies. So I'm a big history buff. I've got, and I'm not just meaning like history buff, like oh, watch a few like YouTube animated channels. Like I am like I've got JSTOR access. I read actual archaeological like archaeological papers and look at like the boring stuff where they're talking about oh yeah in this manuscript we translated this and like the actual progression.
So
I,
why don't you have a website that is just like dericnorth.com and it's like here and it's just like a bunch of tabs up at the top and it's like okay, which of my many bizarre expertise would you like to learn more about? I think that's our next project is to get you a landing page.
I was actually part of or like on getting ready to onboard into like an indie game developers like team to do some work on like a Civ game that they were developing where they simulate an entire world and like it was my level of detail like the actual like because I don't just like oh here's the land masses because of tectonics. I actually simulate like the ocean currents in the air and like go through and make the Köppen climate classification zones and then go through and do like erosional patterns where land's depressed because of ice, whether it's an active or passive margin, where the volcanism is, where the earthquakes are, break things apart, move them. I keep them all like, all marked in this like map where they're all moving around. It's got this monstrous text file with the Euler, like the Euler pole movements relative to like a fixed plate and a whole bunch of other stuff just to like get like a map and then like everything else follows. I'm the guy that starts like a civilization game and then like pauses it and then fucking goes to the map editor and then carries it into Photoshop, then redoes all of the climate patterns and changes shit, comes back, re-imports and fixes all the changes just to play the map. Like,
Okay, okay.
I don't always do that.
So
But
Bob Seger's turned the page.
Bob Seger's turned the page. Uh,
Okay, I love you, Deric.
I love you.
You're terrific. I do feel like this is what we're finding here is an opportunity for an entirely different show.
Oh, oh yeah.
All right,
Good.
so Drew and I were talking about like because in his episode like that one went long because the same reason this one's going long. It's like me and you have a lot to talk about. Like there's a shitload of material here we could work through. So I'm gonna, in the same way that I put Drew's ideas in the hopper, I'm gonna put some ideas in the hopper so maybe we can get some more FaceTime and do like maybe we should just be doing a podcast series.
And world building gets you into another thing related to music, which is like we experience music in the Western sphere through the context of like a late 17th century understanding of like a Western, highly restricted, mostly German worldview on what music theory is.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the fourth, eighths, and the particular like the pentatonic scale and like our division of music into 12 notes, arbitrarily choosing seven of them as our like main keynotes, but it doesn't have to be like that. So you can I think about music a lot. And since you asked me to do this and I was thinking about my world and the, process about like what like experimenting with like, I don't know, what is like fucking like 22 degrees, like microtonal separation sound
Mm-hmm.
like? What happens if instead of 12 notes, you put like 14 and then start a keynote like a third of an octave above you? How does it change music?
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons that like I mean, that's why I love percussion so much, is because you're rarely operating on direct tones. You know, it's usually a fuzzy space in between a lot of notes and like different subharmonies and stuff like that. And it's also one of the things that's so beautiful to me about fretless stringed instruments is,
Yeah.
you know, obviously the good players know exactly the intonation to hit exactly the note that you want to hear. And the great players are like, but I'm not going to hit that exactly. I'm going to hit it right next to here so that it gets this very interesting quality. And yeah, that's one of my favorite things too. But let's wrap this up. I want to get to my my recommendation here. So,
Okay.
your song was "Turn the Page" by Bob Seger. I can't think of another song that's a better example of what that song does. And that's happened once on the show before too. You know, the one Dave Hopkins picked was like a Tycho song. And I'm like, this song just like, it is the best example that I'm aware of at what it's trying to do. So what I had to do with this recommendation for you and for any listeners is find another classic rock anthem. And I found one that has elements of country as well, and city rock, which that a lot of people like. That's how they classify Bob Seger. You know, it's like city rock. But it's one of my favorite classic rock songs, and it's "Cowboy Song" by Thin Lizzy. Do you know that one?
I'm pretty sure I do, but
I think
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. So there's nothing quite like Cowboy Song. I think Thin Lizzy is a really special group. They're definitely one of the classic rock groups that I think are really underrated and need some more. Like people need to take another look at them. It combines a lot of popular elements from 70s music, like Turn the Page does. And it's so groovy. It's a song with like several pretty drastically different parts in it. And they're all just so groovy. And that's what Thin Lizzy does is put together, they string together these different parts that all have their own character that all work so well together. And it just rocks. I mean, it's rock and roll in the best way. The rhythm section in it's incredible, and the vocal harmonies are really, really tight. So Cowboy Song, Thin Lizzy, give it a listen if you like Turn the Page by Bob Seger. And Deric, once you listen to it, let me know what you think.
Will do.
And let me know if it doesn't have the same vibe as Turn the Page. It's not the same emotional landscape. But I think musically it's similar. You know, to me it's a classic rock anthem that holds a special place. So I think you'll like it too. All right, that's all I got, man. Thanks for coming on the show. It's good to have you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we need to. We'll catch up a little more after we stop the taping, but let's cook through a couple more ideas about how we can get some more time together.
Oh, I'm game.
Right on, man.
Do
All
it.
right. Click the like and subscribe buttons below. Thanks for watching. Follow the links in the description to our Patreon and consider becoming a patron, please. You're allowing me to continue to do shows like this, find more projects with people like Drew and Deric who know lots of interesting shit and are great to talk to, and also help me work on my own music. I'm still cranking away at that solo album it's coming along. I've got some stuff recorded.
It'll be good.
And you're going to be hearing some stuff soon, and I think the album's coming out this year. That's what it's looking like so far. So help me pay our rent. Help me eat some food. That'd be great. Until next time, thanks for watching.